Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. This is going to be another one of Italian Stallion's videos. Be sure to go check out his channel down below, guys. This guy does God's work in this community, and I feel like he doesn't get enough recognition. So, this particular situation with competitive FIFA is something that I always talked about in general because this video's title is EA release a new game mode slash feature for competitive FIFA. And this is something that I've talked about all the time in the past, right? I think that Foot Champs is a completely flawed system to have in your game mode for regular gameplay content and for the competitive players themselves. So I am very curious to see what you, it's like we have like the same thinking. So I'm looking forward to watching this video.
Greetings. Now, like every time before there's a qualifier for a professional tournament, EA sends out an email to all their competitive players with a link to register and sign up for the qualifier online that takes place. This time, however, there was a little bit of an unexpected surprise from EA's part, and let's get straight into it. But basically, they released a new game mode. Unfortunately, it's only available for players who are already Foot Champions verified. If you don't know what that means, it means you have already achieved at least a 27-3 in Foot Champions, and you thus become Foot Champions
Wait, so when he says, "Oh, they actually did release a new game mode," okay.
verified, and you become eligible to participate in qualifiers for their professional events. So here it goes. They say in the email, congratulations, as a Foot Champions verified player, you've earned an invitation to play in the online qualifier for our first licensed qualifying event in May, right? So if we skip down here, it says, for this qualifier, we will be introducing a new variation of friendly seasons called friendly competition. As a Foot Champions verified player, you will be able to invite your opponent to a friendly competition using the square or Y button when going through the friendly seasons invite process. For EA Sports FIFA 19 Global Series online qualifier matches, you will use friendly competition to take advantage of the following features, which better facilitate online qualifier tournament gameplay. So this is good for many reasons. But
This is a very good thing, actually. So, which better facilitate online qualifier tournament gameplay. Online qualifier matches, you will use friendly competition to take advantage of the following features which better facilitate online qualifier tournament gameplay.
before we get into that, let's see what they mean. So this will allow you to set which leg of the match you're playing, right? So instead of, remembering, is this a best of one, or sorry, if this leg one or leg two, the game
This is good. This is good.
mode allows you to do it for you. So you can invite someone. If you're inviting them for the first leg, you invite it and you choose the leg one option, which I'm going to show you later. And then for leg two, you invite them for leg two when you put in the score from leg one, and you'll see exactly what you see in tournaments when you see the aggregate scores on the top left corner of the screen. And it says, for the first leg of the match, the game will end after stoppage time without going to extra time or penalties. Set the score of the first leg before the second leg, so this allows you to do that, and then set the second leg will enter extra time and penalties if the aggregate score is, as we move forward, still tied. And this game mode, rather than using a peer-to-peer connection, you and your opponent will connect directly to a tournament server allocated to your region by selecting a tournament server to play the match on. Server assignment for each region is listed below. So you'll also have as they say, you'll have a choice of servers to connect to. And for me, I'm in Europe, so I'm going to be sending invites choosing tournament server 2, but every region has an allocated server for them, which is really, really cool. And then the final part, they say, we felt it was important to implement this new mode for our qualifying tournaments as soon as it was ready for public use, which is why we are rolling it out near the end of the season. This advance is another step forward in our efforts to implement player feedback directly into the EA Sports FIFA Global Series program, right? So, it's late, but better late than never. And here I wanted to show you footage. So here, you see a friend, and instead of here you would usually, at this point, you would press select, invite him to a game. But in this, because I am a verified player, I have access to this thing where instead of going there, you go back. And here, as you see, if I press square, invite to friendly competition. And that's what it looks like. You invite him, and you see these three things here. Obviously, you toggle which server you want, from server 1 to 6. And obviously, for me, it would be number 2. But that's what it looks like.
Why didn't they tell you in the game what the servers are? Because you're gonna be like, I guess you have to remember what it is from the list. They should show you at the top here, like, oh, it's a North American server, European server.
Choose the server. So I actually ended up playing also a game on a South American server just to test, and
I hate foot champs, and it'll probably stay next year, right? I still hate the game mode with the deepest passion, but this is a good implementation because then they tell you. I'm assuming that the gameplay might be more similar to the tournament gameplay if you're connected to that specific server as well. Leg first, so you get is so this is a cool concept because this just makes competitive FIFA easier because you play the first leg. If you tie 2-2 and it's the 90th minute, the game ends. It's really good because it's based off of 2 legs, and then you would set the second leg, and then you would put the score down, and then boom, that's how you would carry it over. So the second game, the way that game would end, that's what the result would be, right? This is a good game mode.
it was awful. It was truly, truly awful. Here, you choose first leg, second leg. Obviously, if you can see here, if you're inviting as a first leg, there's no need to put the aggregate score. And then in the second leg, you can put the aggregate score. So you're inviting for the second leg. Here, you'll put how the score ended in the first. And here, obviously, I just left it at 0-0. And we headed into the game. And once we do that, it looks like this. Pretty much just like a Foot Champions or just like a friendly match would. I'm guessing this is what they use at the pro tournaments as well. And as you can see here from the clips in the game, at the top, as soon as the passing percentage goes low, you'll see the aggregate. So from home, it looks just like you're playing a pro tournament. So obviously, this is incredible. You know, it's a game mode that we've always wanted.
Yes.
And now there's no need for a different version of the game to be at esports events. You literally have the same game mode available if you're a verified player.
Yeah.
The bad thing, obviously, is that it took them a long time to implement this, but you know what?
Better late than
never.
Yeah.
Next year is going to look really good competitive-wise, considering that we have this implemented already, and they've already added squad restrictions for these last 2 LQE qualifiers. So maybe the squad restrictions to sort of downplay the importance of pay-to-win will be, like, you know, it'll be from the first qualifier next year as opposed to all the way to this point. But yeah, really exciting. This is what it looks like when the game ends, just like it would when you see a tournament. You got the score.
I don't think Italian Stallion reviews the actual rules for the competitive tournament, so I'm just going to go on hashtag Ryan's thing here because I think he's the one that that talked about it. It was a while ago. Okay, so here's the thing he said. Okay. Oh, and I need to put it on the other monitor because it's all weird. Okay, so I'll put it on this monitor right here for you guys. Hashtag Ryan, probably one of the calmest dudes, by the way. So when I read this the other day, it was very interesting. So let me get this straight. We start the year complaining that pay-to-win players get an advantage in qualifiers, which was very evident at the start of the year. Players who didn't heavily invest spent a lot of time grinding to earn many coins to get a good team enough to compete. Players who didn't heavily invest spent a lot of time grinding to earn many coins. I read that completely wrong. Yeah, so he's saying that like they spent a lot of time to get better players to be able to qualify and to be able to try out these players. And then he says some players now have managed to achieve those players after grafting for months for you to put a restriction. For the last 2 LQEs, where is the logic, EA FIFA Sports? How backwards is that? It should have been done at the start, not now. Christ. What's the restrictions here? Throughout the year, we have been constantly evolving our qualifiers in response to player feedback. One thing we've heard a lot from you is the disparity in squad strength between players. Yeah, he's right about it being late to do that. I always talk about this, right? I always talk to people and I always tell people, right, that this year is such a experiment year with FIFA because it's kind of like price ranges of players, right? When it was first implemented in FIFA, it was the worst thing ever because they implemented it so late that it messed everything up in that specific game. But implementing this now and then being able to have that potentially for next year, like it sucks because it's always a next year thing with FIFA, right? It's always a next year thing. Let me just read this real quick. One thing we've heard a lot from you is the disparity in squad strength between players, which is very true. To help address this, we're trying squad restrictions for the last 2 qualifiers of the season. Doing it now makes no sense. For this qualifier, your squad must meet the following restrictions. Maximum of 2 icons. Patrick Vieira and Hullet. Probably. Maximum of 290 to 94 rated non-icon players. All other players must be rated 89 or lower. You know what? That, like, because they are trying to put this maximum of 2 icons. Mine would be Hullet and Vieira. The CDM position, too important, right? Um, I'm like thinking about this right now. All the players must be 89 or rated lower. Registration will be open on Monday. You'll see as written. What did Ryan say about this? We've had a long gap between qualifiers, so players may have now decided to invest the money to bolster their squad. Are you going to give them the money if they spent back? You throw this curveball when we are in March, it's useless. Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? That's the thing that EA does so much in the past and even nowadays, is that this is a good implementation. I'm not saying this is not a good implementation, because it is, but it's more of a good implementation for next year's game, right? Because they still want to have a little bit of a pay to win concept, right? Have 2 icons, you have maximum of 195 plus, maximum of 299, you know. But if the gameplay content is different next year, then maybe these people are more attainable if you play the game a lot. Not necessarily this year, because the gameplay content is awful, but he is right, because people did spend money. It's such a for me, it's just not a good concept to make people spend money on the game to be able to compete. Like, you don't do that in any other gaming community ever, right? And if you don't do that in the beginning of the year for FIFA, then you can't do the first first few tournaments with a good squad. Well, you could do it with a mediocre team and qualify that way, but it'll obviously be harder. Again, this is a good implementation for sure, just not for this year, you know. It's the same thing as like price ranges. Like, price ranges nowadays is great because, you know, well, gameplay content is shit, so you don't get enough for doing gameplay coins. You don't get enough for that. But price ranges were good, especially like 2 or 3 months after it was added to the game that they first added it to. Players were very, very affordable. So it's like this, right? It's gonna be interesting. I want to see if they implement this next year in the beginning. It is late. I do agree with the pro players. Now this is an experiment of year. You should have just kept it the same system. Like, it's just too late into the game. We're in March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Half a year, right? Away. Half a year into FIFA has always been a downfall the last like 4 or 5 years, in my opinion. So yeah. Y'all really need to get together and just to show out an event and qualify is going to get on the level of spitting and disrespect. Agree, but it'll never happen, unfortunately. That's true. That is very true. Just bought Team of the Year Varane. I guess he's gone. To be fair, I wasn't going to qualify for an LQE anyways. I have no words anymore. You really did Socrates cheese a few hours before this email came out. Man, that's so unlucky. That's so unlucky. It's typical, man. I'm not too bothered about that. It's just a logic they use or lack of logic. See, that's the thing, man. Like, I always talk about this too. Like, why don't they just ask? Like, they didn't ask any competitive players, like, what do you guys think about us implementing this now? And then you can avoid this whole thing. They're not getting angry because they can't use god tier players against other players. They're angry because they've already played so much of FIFA this year, spent so much money this year to be able to qualify, because they never knew a concept like this was going to exist, right? That's where the frustrations come from, because I know that some people are going to get confused with that. So yeah, I like that this is being added. This concept is being added. I don't like that it's been implemented now. I do agree with them on that. I do agree with them on that. It's more the money part. You know what I'm saying? Like, if people spent money, I see it more in that regard. Because if it's in regards to you playing the game and having good players, I mean, gameplay content is crazy shit. So I mean, like, that concept probably doesn't exist too much, right? But yeah, I get what he's saying. I definitely get what he's saying. But that's going to conclude the video for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys for the next one. If there's any other videos you guys would like me to react to, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Again, please go check out Stallion's video, because he's the one that posted it. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. It's going to be in the description down below, so go see the video, okay? Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.